Alright, hey guys, I hope everyone is having a great Saturday. This is Rudy, and I promised a tax situation update, and I made a previous video called For the Record, I'm Being Targeted by ICE and the IRS, and this is a follow-up to that because I promised you guys a follow-up. It's going to be a very boring video if you're not interested in my tax situation, and I'm just doing this as a public video record more than anything else. And I tried to do this before and I went 12 minutes and it's like way too long, and I'm just going to get right to the facts. And I'm going to share some things and then we'll end it. And okay, let's get right to business. Okay, in the previous video I said that when I became a vocal eligibility activist and I started helping with the Constitutional Election Summit, ICE, Immigrations, Customs and Enforcement, contacted my work, and they said Rudy needs to show his birth certificate. If he doesn't, you got to fire him. And that was exactly the words that was relayed to me. If you don't show your birth certificate, you're going to be fired. Now, I did show my birth certificate. I kind of made a joke to my HR person that, maybe I'll upload it on a website. I'll put it in multiple layers. I'll put clipping mask all around it. I'll put smiley faces in my stamp. I'll put a misspelling in my stamp, from Texas, my Lone Star, my Texas long form birth certificate. And, I don't think my HR person got the joke because they're not up on the eligibility. But anyway, I got through that, right, because I do have a valid long form Texas birth certificate. And then a few weeks later, I get a letter from the IRS saying, oh, $25,000 back taxes on my 2010 taxes. Now, I don't owe those taxes. They miscalculated my cost basis for some stock options I sold. And I'm not a tax revolter. I've done my taxes my whole life. I'm not advocating anybody don't pay their taxes. I take a biblical position on it. And I don't want to go into that right now. Okay, I can spend a lot of time talking about that, and I just don't want to, right? But anyway, I sent the form back to the IRS, and I checked the box that says you're wrong, and here's all my supporting documentation that here shows you the cost basis, and I would like for you to take a look at this. And this is the letter they sent back to me. I received it on June the 9th, 2012. So on June the 9th, 2012, I get a letter from them. It says, Dear Rudy, and my wife's name. It says, thank you for the correspondence received on May the 3rd, 2012. We will contact you again within 60 days to let you know what action we are taking. You don't need to send us anything further or take any further action now on this matter. And it goes on to give me a phone number that I can call. It says I can mail a letter. It says if you owe additional taxes, include the check. So basically they're giving themselves 60 days to review what I sent them, and that's fine. And there's no doubt in my mind that I am being targeted. You don't get a random Immigrations, Customs, Enforcement letter to your HR department after you've been working for a company as long as I've been working for mine, questioning your citizenship, and you don't get an IRS audit, a few weeks later saying you owe $25,000 in back taxes. Now again, I pay my taxes. I'm very familiar with the claims they're making, and I know that they're wrong, and I mailed in them the documentation. So I go to sleep good at night, and we'll see what they say, but I'm not going to give in to tyranny, and I'm not going to give in if this is some sort of intimidation technique. I'm just not going to be intimidated. Not because I'm some big, strong, tough guy or anything like that. It's just I just put my trust in the Lord, and I'm going to say the truthful thing, and I'm going to do what's right, come hell or high water. And let me also quickly mention this to you guys. It's regarding whether Obama committed treason or whether he did a coup d'etat. And some people have made the argument to me that he could never have committed treason because he was never loyal to the United States in the first place to commit a treasonous act. That because he's not a legal citizen and he's not legal to pick tomatoes in Florida, and there's overwhelming evidence against him that he's not a legal citizen, it really was an act of war that has been committed, more like a coup d'etat. And let me just read you guys the definitions of treason that I found, and then I'm interested in what you guys think, because I've always been calling it a treasonous act, but I'm open to being educated. Maybe it wasn't treason, maybe it was a coup d'etat. So the definitions for treason is a violation of allegiance to one sovereign or to one state. Well, if Obama never was a sovereign citizen of the United States, or it's hard for him to commit treason against something that he never was a citizen of, because he never could have turned against it. So it also has a definition of the offense of acting to overthrow one's government. Well, this never was Obama's government to overthrow, right? So maybe there's some validity that he didn't commit treason. Well, then what did he do, right? So maybe the better word is coup d'etat. And the definition of coup d'etat is a sudden illegal deposition of a government, usually by a small group of the existing state establishment, typically the military, but not always, to depose the extant government and replace it with another body, civil or military. A coup d'etat is considered successful when the usurpers establish their dominance. When the coup neither fails completely nor succeeds, a civil war is a likely consequence. So I think that's maybe what we have. And again, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still trying to digest, is what he has done treasonous, or is what he has done a coup d'etat? Either way, it's an act of war, right? It's an act of war and deserving of the highest penalty. But, you know, once there is a court of law, we have to have law. Nobody can be above the law, and I'm not advocating anybody go out and hurt the president or assassinate the president. I'm not advocating that. What I am advocating is that the rule of law be applied to everyone. And when those Secret Service guys came and visited me, I wish I would have said, you know, something to the effect of, you guys are investigating me, but you need to be investigating your boss, right? You know, but I just can't think of everything to say on the spot like I wish I could. But, you know, let me just say this in closing. You got step one and step two. Step one is coming to the realization that we have an illegal alien as commander-in-chief of the military. Now we got overwhelming evidence to suggest that's the case. So that's step one. And then once you apply the rule of law to that situation, because nobody should be above the law, it's either going to be treason, the highest treason that's ever been committed in the history of America, or if it's not treason, it's a coup d'etat, and a coup d'etat is an act of war. And so once you apply the rule of law to that situation, step two is, well, we got to have a penalty for this man, right? Once the rule of law is applied, the penalty has to be applied to this man. And that penalty, in my opinion, once the rule of law has been applied, is death. Now, we can argue about the different types of death methods, but, you know, and that's, you know, in a time of universal deceit, stating the truth is a revolutionary act. And so when I state that truth, right, but we got step one and step two, it's a revolutionary act. But I'm always going to say the truth. I'm not ever going to stop saying the truth. And I don't know if they're trying to intimidate me with the IRS audit and the birth certificate, you know, requiring me to show my birth certificate. And I'm not saying that I'm some tough macho guy, you can't intimidate me. I'm just saying that I'm going to put my trust in the Lord. I'm going to put my trust biblically, right? And I'm going to say the truth no matter what, come hell or high water. And nothing's going to make me stop saying the truth. And so that's you know, that's my thoughts on that. I'm interested if you guys think it's treason or coup d'etat. Which one is it? You know, it's definitely one or the other. And I'm starting to think there's some validity that we've had a coup d'etat, because how could it be treason if he never had any loyalty or allegiance to the United States to begin with, right? Maybe it's treason for the people that helped him, that are Americans, because he was helped. So the Americans that helped him, they definitely are guilty of the highest treason ever committed against our country. But for Obama himself, it's an act of war, what he's done, because he's a foreign power that has usurped commander-in-chief of our military. And there's overwhelming evidence to suggest that's the case. So that's an act of war along the lines of a coup d'etat. That's just some thoughts to think about. God bless every one of you, and have a great day.